Hello brothers, Wally T here. I finished the Space Marine 2 and while it was a great experience I was also a little bit disappointed. So like always, let's focus on the gameplay first. As I said in the first video, the combat is great, the melee is awesome and you can really feel the power of being a Space Marine. Stomping on fucking worms and pulverizing them is just beautiful. There are 4 melee weapons and all of them are great, but my favorite will forever be the Chainsword. However, I must say that the Thunder Hammer with the jetpack is a great combo. There is also a decent amount of guns, and the shooting is solid, but why the hell there is not a shotgun? I found myself multiple times thinking that a shotgun in some situation would have been so perfect. I really loved the combat, catching enemies on the fly while parrying, rolling, splattering worms everywhere is just pure fun. It's one of the best combat systems I've seen in the latest years. Simple but really addictive. But there is a problem. The fucking heretics. I loved fighting hordes of Tyrannids. Just watching them, hundreds of them coming at you is really intense and almost scary. There is not a great variety of enemies, but I had so much fun fighting them that I didn't mind at all. With the Chaos Space Marine, sadly it's not the same. I mean, they are cool at first, but then they feel boring. Fighting them is not the same as fighting the Tyrannids. Same as the Tyrannids, there isn't a huge variety in enemy types, but with the heretics you'll notice the problem more. Killing them just isn't satisfying as taking down the swarm. Maybe it's the lack of blood, or the fact that it feels too magical. I don't know, but fighting them took away some of the dark, gritty feeling I had for the game. A bit like how fighting the Lambent in Gears of War wasn't the same as fighting the Locust. The campaign is around 6 to 8 hours long. It's short but fun. It has some issues like the really simple level design, press a button, take an elevator, move a rock, but also some of the coolest battles and the feeling of being in the middle of war is just great. The ending is fantastic, with a solid final boss and some crazy beautiful cinematic. I completed the story on hard, and while it was challenging, it wasn't really too hard. I haven't tried the hardest difficulty because I played the story in single player, and I didn't want to suffer too much. Also, the AI companions really saved my ass a lot of times. Since you can play the entire story in co-op, there is a decent level of replayability. The plot is kinda simple, but I still liked it, and if you're a Warhammer 40k fan, I think it's a dream come true.
My pledge is eternal service.
So I had a lot of fun with the game, but I would have liked some extra variety. I don't know, something like driving a vehicle, or maybe some space battle, or the orcs. The orcs in this game with these graphics would have been so fucking cool. The operations are also good, similar to the main story but co-op focused. Unlike the campaign, there are classes and you can level up by doing missions. The problem here is that there are only 6 missions, so once you finish them, you just replay them on higher difficulties, which at least for me isn't enough, and also higher difficulties doesn't mean better AI or more enemies, it just means that they become fucking spongy, and you can especially feel this against the heretics. And if you like grinding and leveling up, since the gameplay is so fun, you could spend hours and hours replaying those missions. You can unlock armor, upgrade weapons, abilities and try different classes, but this game really needs new operation, a horde mod or something to keep it fresh. I don't know, maybe a more procedural mod like in Helldivers 2 would have been perfect for this game. I've also heard about server issues and problems like not being able to use the same class, but I was lucky enough not to encounter those. The only issue I had was sometimes needing to restart the Xbox to find players online, and also why do I always to go back to the menu to reconnect? Why the fuck there isn't a reconnect button? Right now I don't know for how long I'll enjoy replaying the same missions over and over again, but as soon as they release new content, I will come back for sure, especially if they release the orcs, please. Release the orcs. The PvP right now is just forgettable. I mean, it's not bad, it's actually fun, but with only 3 maps it becomes really repetitive. And also the melee combat, which in PvE is fantastic, here is really bad. It's great that finding a match takes literally seconds, and then you're right into the action, and since there are different classes, there is enough variety to keep things interesting. Playing as a team is crucial to winning. Running around and trying to kill everyone like you are the main character doesn't work. So I played around 3 to 4 hours of this mod, and it was fun. It reminds me of a multiplayer experience from 2008. It's fun and simple, but with only 3 maps it gets repetitive really fast. If they add more weapons and more maps, it could become an okay experience, I guess. I don't quite understand why unlocking the armors is so bad. Why do I always unlock useless stuff before unlocking what I have to unlock? And that, yeah, that it's fucking confusing. Technically speaking, the game is great. Even with hundreds of enemies on the screen, it still feels really fluid, but it gets worse in later missions, with FPS drops and some stuttering, but I'm sure it will get better with the next patches. There is a roadmap outlining upcoming updates. This year we'll get new PvE missions plus new enemies, with more content like Horde mod arriving next year. Since the game sold really well, I'm curious to see how it will evolve. So is Space Marine 2 worth $70? Well, if you're expecting a long story and plan to play only the single player mod, I'd wait and buy it when it's around 30. But if you wanna dive into the co-op and the PvP, then yeah, it's worth it, especially if you're into Warhammer lore. As someone who's not a huge Warhammer 40k fan, I still loved it. And it made me want to go back and play Dawn of War like I did in my childhood. I was a little disappointed by the main story longevity and by the fact there are only 6 co-op missions. I just want more operation, more story and more enemies. Just give me more heretic scum to slay. As always, thank you for watching. If you wanna subscribe, you're always welcome. You can find my social in the description, and till next time, take care, brothers.